The focus on Irish soccer recently has been on the pitch and our fading chances of qualifying for Rio. But there's also been criticism of the organisation's financing and its massive stadium-related debt. So might the FAI's shiny shared home prove to be an almost unbearable burden for that organisation? Kevin Burns has this report.
Last Tuesday, Austria's injury time goal broke Irish hearts. It also damaged Ireland's chances of playing in the World Cup in Rio next year. And it could dramatically affect the already unimpressive soccer attendances at the Aviva. International matches are the only real way the FAI has of making any money. Building this stadium has left them with a debt of more than €60 million. Tonight on Prime Time we ask, how do they get into this situation? And more importantly, how can they get out without jeopardising the future of the game?
It's a wonderful arena, but is it a millstone around the neck of Irish football going forward? And is it going to bring Irish football down?
Irish football threatened to implode after Roy Keane was sent home from the 2002 World Cup. That led to the Genesis report, which criticised the FAI's inadequate planning for the tournament and questioned the effectiveness of its management. John Delaney was honorary treasurer at the time, and he vowed the FAI would learn the lessons and adopt the report's recommendations.
We should be embarking, I believe, on a period of stability now, implementing the change, the key recommendations that were made today. And in a very stark way, we showed the public today just how much is needed to change.
Within 2 years, John Delaney became the Chief Executive Officer of the FAI. He was now in a position to bring about that change. After the ill-fated Aircon Park and Bertie Bowl, by 2005 there were now plans to build a new stadium at the IRFU, transforming the old Lansdowne Road. This stadium would end up costing €400 million to build. The government would make a contribution of more than €190 million, while the FAI's contribution would be €82 million. This left them with a €67 million debt in 2011.
What they were predicting was that not only would they raise enough money from the sales of the tickets to pay off their debt of whatever it was, 70 million, but they were going to have another 70 million on top of that to spend on developing the game in Ireland.
But in 2007, the performance of the Irish team left a lot to be desired.
They didn't go in 2007 because Steve Staunton was the manager, and Irish football was at that stage in danger of becoming a laughingstock. In fact, it had become a laughingstock.
It was at that time the IRFU started selling their 10-year tickets to rugby fans.
The IRFU went about their business. They sold their tickets at a flat rate of €15,000 and sold those pretty much in a very straightforward manner. They didn't need agents or outside bodies, they just sold them into their membership.
In March 2008, Giovanni Trapattoni was appointed as manager of the Irish national team, and the FAI had a good product to sell, but for a combination of reasons, it wasn't a good time to go to the market. Primetime has discovered, on foot of a Freedom of Information request, that media speculation about the FAI at that time caused the Secretary-General of the Department of Sport, Con Hock, to contact CEO John Delaney and his counterpart in the IRFU about the FAI's ability to meet its obligations in relation to the stadium. The FAI has confirmed to Primetime that John Delaney told the department in his reply that their contribution was not in doubt. He was right. It was paid in full and on time. But many believe that the fact that they launched their 10-year tickets in 2008 and not 2007, coupled with their ambitious price structure, has directly led to the contrasting fortunes of the two organisations with regard to the stadium they share. The FAI has a €60 million debt costing €100,000 a month to service. The IRFU have financed their €89 million in excess by advanced ticket sales.
The FAI were very confident at the time the tickets were launched that they would sell them all. I think on the day the tickets were launched, they were predicting that 80% of the tickets would be sold before the first match was played.
And over the last couple of weeks, we've taken €15 million of committed orders for the price that we're putting out. Some tickets are priced at €7,000, which is €3,500 up front, €3,500 next October, and then €500 a year through the period of 10 years. So they're keenly priced, and you really are paying for your seat where you're positioned in the premium seats that we're selling.
You have to say timing was terrible. The launch of the ticket sales coincided with the day that the Lehman Brothers went. I think that was an external factor that the FAI couldn't do anything about.
We've never been told how many tickets in fact they did sell. So it was the failure of selling those tickets that have actually caused the debt. I mean, in a simple sum, if you'd sold 10,000 of those tickets at 10,000 is 100 million, I think my math's been right, that would have sorted the problem.
While the FAI have met all their obligations of disclosure in their financial statements, we went to Professor Eamonn Walsh of the Smurfit Business School at UCD to try and find out how many 10-year tickets were sold.
Normally, an organisation will disclose a liability if they receive cash in advance from their customers. So, for example, the IRFU reports that it has advanced ticket sales and it's a liability on their books. But in the case of the FAI, they simply disclose a single liability, which includes both payments of sponsorship that it might have received in advance and payments for tickets that it might have received in advance. So all we can conclude from the FAI financial statements is that there is no more than 12.5 million of advanced ticket sales.
What did the IRFU get? How did they compare?
I believe the number is about 99 million.
So considerably more.
Substantially more.
Of course, there may be other ways the fans are paying for 10-year tickets that might not show up in this way, such as direct debit. But direct debit is quite literally not money in the bank. Any fan falling on hard times might choose to cancel. We asked the FAI to be interviewed for this programme. They declined. In relation to ticket sales and deferred liability, the association told us this matter has been raised at previous AGMs and we will not be adding further to the information published in our audited accounts. The FAI's annual report showed that the grassroots have suffered in recent years in the financial crunch, as development and operating grants have consistently decreased, from 2.2 million in 2005 to 1 million in 2011. That's 2% of revenue, and it has halved in absolute terms. The FAI says that development and operating is only a small portion of our spend on grassroots, and that over 4 years it spent €60 million on the Underage International Programme, High Performance and Grassroots programmes. But the FAI does seem to have a consistently hefty bill for administration. On average, since 2005, they have spent 23% of every euro revenue on administration over the last 8 years. Compare this to 9% for the IRFU and 16% for the GAA. On administration costs, the FAI told us these sort of classification differences exist between any two businesses. You should be careful that you are comparing like with like, adding that in this situation, clearly this is not the case. They also told us that underage international programmes, high performance and grassroots programmes are counted under administration costs and costs of sales.
The staff recruitment, I think maybe in the last 10 years it's trebled the number of staff working there. But it would never have been an issue if things had gone the way that they had predicted they would have gone.
When trying to understand the FAI's large stadium debt, an exceptional payment made in 2008 of more than €5 million has never fully been explained. It first came to public attention when the annual report for 2008 was distributed to delegates at the 2009 FAI AGM in Monaghan.
Normal practice would be for the accounts of a business, which the FAI ultimately is, to be given to members a number of weeks beforehand. However, for that year, the accounts were actually handed out to people as they walked into the AGM. I immediately spotted one item. There was a €5 million exceptional item charge. I asked a question and basically was not giving an answer of any description.
There was an exceptional cost in there of 5 million odd, which there didn't seem to be an explanation for. I think it was explained as a one-off for the connection with the Aviva, but it was a hell of a lot of money.
While the 2008 annual report fulfills the obligation to disclose this cost, it gives very little detail in relation to it.
The norm is for a company to disclose the nature of an exceptional item. But in the case of the FAI, what they actually do is provide no information whatsoever in their financial statements. They simply state Exceptional costs of 5 million were incurred arising from funding commitments to the Aviva Stadium development project. Beyond that, we know nothing about what this 5 million might be.
In relation to this €5 million, the FAI would only tell us that this issue was addressed at the 2009 AGM by the Director of Finance, who confirmed that the cost was stadium related, and due to confidentiality agreements, no further detail could be given. He noted that in line with best accounting practice, this amount had been written off, which was very prudent. So, what is the FAI's plan to clear this massive stadium-related debt in a mere 7 years? The association points to €40 million UEFA TV rights money every 4 years from 2014, as a result of centralised television rights agreement. A resale of premium seats from next year, the resale of Vantage Club seats in 2020, and the resale renegotiation of naming rights, which they say generated over €40 million from the initial sale.
And at the moment, the FAI are probably getting somewhere around between 5 to 6 million a year from TV revenues through the deals they have with RTÉ, Sky Sports and other external organisations. So an extra 3 or 4 million a year, will that make a big dent in the Aviva Stadium debt? I don't think so.
Last year, 35,000 loyal Irish fans travelled to Poland to follow the Irish team through their unsuccessful Euro campaign. Now the Aviva struggles to attract that number at knockdown prices for key qualifiers, like last week's game against Austria. But the FAI still has to pay off the debt it incurred in building it.
What's the legacy of the stadium going to be? Is it going to be one of being a sort of a noose around the neck of Irish football, or is it going to have a positive legacy? And you know, that's very uncertain what the actual answer to that's going to be.